like how we've thrown Laurie's name into this. We just walked past him on the stairs.
Yeah, I thought that. I thought if he's seeing that title, he might just be like, what are you on about? And I'm saying, listen, I'm just branching off what your article was. You know what I mean? Yeah, he had a bit of a smirk on his face where you could have argued that he might have seen it.
Was going to do files?
He won't be that bothered, will he?
No. All right.
Yeah, do you know what? Are we both rocking grey? No, I'm colourblind, innit?
No, I'm off-white.
Off-white.
Yours is Marl Grey, I think is the
designer.
Like Jersey Marl Grey.
Drama Core Manchester-based band.
I'm on a early release
band.
here from Everyday Patriot, my mate Jay, rocking his own little brand. Nice high quality, no Fruit of the Loom in here. It's nice, man. I feel it.
You've got a cap with a Great Britain flag on it, haven't you?
What?
If you had that on today with that.
There is a tightrope getting walked here with some of it, but you know, it is what it means to different people. Obviously, you don't see me marching around no streets with no flags because that's a line that I think some cranks cross.
Yeah, you can't cross that. But anyway,
yeah, shout out Everyday Patriot. This is it's not released.
Just shout out to Everyday Patriot.
Very early stuff.
Don't worry, people. We'll talk. We are going to get straight into what this video is about because it's short for time and we actually got quite a lot to say, don't we?
Yeah.
Because people haven't really heard much from you since the transfer window has closed in January. There was a lot of uproar, partially with myself, in terms of the fact that we didn't really see, other than Patrick Dorgu and the project signing in Aiden Heaven, we didn't see the squad being bolstered that much, but we did see it weakened in the sense of we had 2 attackers leave without any coming in. And the issue is now is what are United's prospects if you're looking at it from a perspective of we're still in 3 competitions with 4 attackers and not any of them are really in amazing form, and we wasn't able to get Tell over the line, but obviously we found out today that Tell would have been some fees to Bayern that you can't begrudge United not paying. But
5 mil is not a lot of money, but 5 mil is a lot of money. It's like £1 million a month on top of what the guy was going to cost us in wages for no guarantees of anything. Like, it literally is just setting fire to £5 million. Now, on one hand, you can say, well, where could we finish with that extra player? And could you end up with more prize money? Could you end up with another round in the Europa League? Could you even win the Europa League with his help? And that's where you need crystal balls, projections, all that sort of stuff, because you have no idea.
Steve's seen it the exact same way that I saw it. When people were saying that they'd rather not us doing a last-ditch signing that might have been a loan that included loan fees, extra money, and you're better off saving it until the summer. My theory was, what would be the trade-off of taking the gamble? Obviously, hindsight would end up being 2020, but the trade-off of maybe putting that extra bit of money, stretching it a little bit to get another player in that could help being a difference with you finishing higher up the table, more revenue, or winning the Europa League and getting Champions League football, which would then have another booster effect on your actual finances in the summer.
Not just that. What happens if we go into the end of the season, we end up losing another sort of key starter? You already don't have the numbers up front. What if you lost Ugarte? What if you lost Delict or Mazraoui or someone like that as well? What if you lost one of those strikers that aren't really doing much? You're really in the shit then. And what's going to happen is you're going to have this car crash into the season where Amorim's stats are going to be in the toilet. And people go, well, it doesn't matter because it's a rebuild season. It does matter because that'll just get thrown in his face. You've lost X number of games. You've lost this, that and the other. Like, you want to give this guy a fighting chance. You can't. I've never seen Manchester United write off a season, but it feels the closest that we've ever gotten to writing off a season. Like I said, we're in 3 competitions still. We could theoretically win 2 competitions and have a strong Europa League.
You say we can't win the Premier League?
I think we're probably on the outside. Like, it's long odds.
Okay.
But yeah, we could win some trophies and we could have a strong end to the season. I don't believe we will, but we could. Now, we've got to put this manager in a good enough position where the fan base believe in him, but more importantly, that the players believe in him. Because if he could lose that dressing room over these next 5 months, if we can't buy a win, like if we're just getting tuned in left, right, and centre, some of those players might mentally check out. And then the cheapest thing always is getting rid of a manager. So what was the point?
That's what I think's really dangerous about this almost standstill approach. I know we still have Patrick Dorgu coming in, which will make a difference. It's not like we didn't sign anyone, but seeing the rest of the season as a write-off is very dangerous, because you've got to also be concerned about how United finish the season. If we crash out of both cup competitions, I don't see how the current squad is good enough to win the Europa anyway.
No,
and then if we
people in the comments here saying don't write off the FA Cup and Europa. I don't understand how you think we can win those things.
It will be a long shot, hopefully, but you'd have to see things change. And then with the performances that you've seen, have you got any belief in that? We've just lost Martinez, who's our best ball-playing defender. Luke Shaw can't be relied upon, and we don't know how good Aiden Heaven is yet. We don't know how good Dorgu is yet, who is meant to be someone that is quite raw. And then I'm looking at it from, everyone's like, okay, we can go big in the summer. We just need to survive the rest of the season. If United end up finishing like 12th, 13th in the league, crash out above competitions or lower, and end up terribly, what do the optics look like in terms of belief in Amorim from the players themselves, whether they start, and also the possible players that will be in for in the summer that might have potential like interest elsewhere? They might look at United and think United are a current bottom of the Premier League side.
What if we come 15th?
Do you know what I mean?
And
no Champions League football as well.
That last month of the season, you've been tuned in 5-0, 6-0, just something, because like the Premier League is capable of throwing up those wins for teams. And if you misstep, you can have. I mean, City and Arsenal the other day, that was a 5-1 game. It was never a 5-1 game, was it?
Do you know what's mad?
They had an extra fucking one.
City that poor. I think Arsenal won that game 5-1 without. I don't think they even played out of third gear.
They made the equivalent of a single goal and scored 5. So you can't tell me that United couldn't be on the receiving end of that with someone at the back end of the season.
We got Arsenal in a few weeks in March as well.
But like we could easily roll into the end of the season having had a couple of real stinky performances where we've been smacked about, and then you're on the phone trying to convince any of these off this list to come and join Manchester United. Yes, you've got a name, but it fades. And then you end up having to pay more because the guy's like, well, do you know what? You've just finished 15th. Why should I join now? And we go, we'll make you rich. And he'll be like, okay, now you're buying the wrong guys.
Which is what Ineos is not trying to do. So this is because everyone's got this idea that we can wait till the summer, where it has been touted and said by a few journalists, Laurie alluded to it, which is what the title was, that United are probably going to spend very, very big in the summer in terms of supporting Amorim in a rebuild. And that's why United have been kind of relaxed in the January window, because they've been saving up the PSR for the summer. And Ornstein already said that United aren't as in the red with PSR as people think it is. The finances aren't as bad. United are probably going to get rid of the likes of Casemiro and Rashford, which will obviously be a boost from pure profit standpoint, but also their wages. But Ineos have already shown that they're not willing to give ridiculous wages to players that they do sign or bring in, and they're trying to kind of change the wage structure. So all this belief now that the fan base has, that we can just write off the rest of the season, have no Europa League, have no Europe at all, not win any cup competitions and finish poorly in the league, and then just be able to roll out and say to us men and all these big Florian Wirtz and these big names that people want in to change everything, thinking that they'll actually come here when they've got options of playing Champions League football elsewhere. It's just, I don't know. I think it's going to be, recruitment will be difficult if United are poor.
You either offer opportunity or money. That's it.
Yeah.
When you sit down with a player's agent, they go, like look at the Saudi situation, right? If you'd have told me 5 years ago, I mean, Cristiano Ronaldo literally did an interview where he's like, well, it's not like I'm going to end up in Saudi, is it? That was his next move, right?
Yes.
He's literally said, almost word for word, listen, I'm Cristiano Ronaldo. I won't be playing football in Saudi Arabia. Boom. Next plane out. There he is. So you offer opportunities now, or you offer money. When Manchester City got took over by the Sheikhs, they had to offer money because they were Wigan Athletic with a big bank balance, right? Nobody give a fuck. But they bought players, they made loads of mistakes, and then signed some real good people behind the scenes and on the pitch, and they turned that culture around and became a success. Chelsea did a similar thing. They wasted loads, but they did buy the right stuff and they did get the right people in, and it became a success. At the moment, United can't do that. We have gone and appointed a handful of people behind the scenes, supposedly some good people behind the scenes. We still have to see the evidence of that. That's not, that's an ongoing proof that we have to see that the people that we're appointing behind the scenes are going to do that job. But like you said, man, when we sit down with, all right, Frimpong's on the thumbnail, right? Let's talk about Frimpong. Geezer just went undefeated, winning the Bundesliga. So, hey, when you come back to Manchester and play for the team that just finished 15th in the Premier League.
And he's having an even better individual season right now as well. I think he's been flying lately for goals and assists. So
I can't imagine Leverkusen pay 400 grand a week.
Nah, money, I'm not going to lie to you. I do know, personally, money in Germany's... It's more than I heard that sometimes they pay even better bonuses than the Premier League.
What, is he on like 800 quid a week or something?
I don't know, something like that. Do you know what I mean? But, nah, listen, money's not a problem for the bigger clubs in Germany, 100%. So I don't know.
So then you got to sit down with him. You got to pay him a better wage than what he's on. Otherwise, why am I changing any of this? Because it's a gamble for him as much as it's a gamble for the club when you spend, say, 50 million on there. I don't think you're getting him for 50. I think you'd have to probably throw more at him than that. But you've got an opportunity there to bring in a player that suits this system. I mean, I don't know why he's on the thumbnail, but whatever. You got a player there that could.
Who doesn't suit the system?
No, he absolutely suits the system.
Yeah.
I'm just saying I don't know why he's not been linked with him, have we?
No, he hasn't.
Well, either way. So you got a player that suits the system. He knows the city. It makes a load of sense, but why would he want to come to United? He's having a great career at the moment.
To be fair, it's still United still carries a little bit the allure, so the pull will still be there to an extent, but there's got to be going to be issues beyond that. Because even Matisse Tell wanted to go to United instead of Tottenham. I know Tottenham are in a great situation themselves, but by all accounts, Matisse Tell was basically twerking for Manchester United, so there's still that bit of cachet, and I think there could be a bit of it where some players might want to be the superstar that thinks they can turn United around. Maybe there's a bit of that as well. And I don't know. But I don't know. I think the likes of Jeremy Frimpong, and there's also talks of United being kind of a little bit cheaper, not just because of financial issues, but the idea that we've already negotiated with Sporting Lisbon for who the top player is, which is Quenda. He was a right winger and right wing back that played under Ramarim. That's a 17-year-old. I don't know if he's turned 18 yet. That's flying, and around 40 mil. So I think Ineos know that the summer's going to be huge, so they want as much cash and reserve as possible.
Who's the striker? Who's the one striker that if we sign him? Because Gyökeres feels like what you want, but then you can't go back to Sporting and just take half their team. That's not going to work.
I've already got PTSD of Ten Hag doing that.
Ajax 2.0.
Do you know what I mean? So that's the...
You can't just go from Ajax 2.0 to Sporting 2.0.
I just don't know how he had Kudus and Anthony and decided that Anthony was better. That was a crazy one for me.
I don't know who...
Because Kudus must be 10 times the player of him.
What Manchester United need to do is find out the person that signed the deal for Anthony. It's all right, a manager can say, listen, I want that player. Manager's not doing the one signing the cheque.
No.
Whoever it was that was like 82 million. Yeah, I think that's cool. Let's sign him for that. Jesus.
Yeah, because, all right, and one thing that Laurie did say, which I don't know if people are going to be surprised in the comments, but Laurie's article suggested that United's main target in the summer is a new striker. And the fact that United... Good. No, but this is PTSD from the right winger saga as well. So United spent, was it 70 million on Sancho, 80 million on Anthony, and then
about 2 years ago we had Greenwood, we had Sancho, we had Anthony.
Yeah, but all right, so but every summer after that, United were in the market, and it's like, we need another right winger.
Well.
We need a right winger because the right wingers aren't good enough. And then you've got United who spent 70 million on Rasmus Højlund, spent 35 million on Xerxes, and then are going into the following window after that saying, shit, we need a striker. It's mad. United's sponging money on areas of need or positions of need, and then they end up performing poorly, and then they end up back in the market again a year later. And it's, I don't know, something's got to give and something's got to change when it comes to United and the recruitment. But a new striker is apparently what Laurie has said is like one of the main points of emphasis for Ineos going into the window. And I don't think there's actually that many attainable, sure things in the market. Because even Gyökeres has a few question marks.
No, I don't think there's no obvious he's ready for that step up. He's absolutely killed it. He's got 2 or 3 years proof. There's not really anyone outside. Like, yeah, Gyökeres is a decent shout. His championship pedigree makes me think he would still be suited to English football more so than just a random signing from Sporting that hasn't. But it's still a risk.
And then you got Sesko, who's also got a lot of areas to improve in his game. Because you know what? I don't know what you're taking as it. There's a big obsession. Obviously, it's a whole tactical error, and people are obsessed with profiles. So what I have noticed is, I think people have become very in love with the idea of a player rather than the reality of them. Do you know, as soon as they see a striker that's got okay feet and they're 6'3" and big and can run fast, automatically they're like, yeah, everything superstar. But it doesn't always necessarily work like that. Do you know what I mean? Because there's a lot of that with Rasmus Højlund. There's a lot of that with Sesko, who's got all this talent and he's got the size and he's got the speed. But by all accounts, people that watch him week in, week out said he's got a lot of areas in his game that are unpolished, where he might not necessarily be ready for a big club. And then you've got Osimhen, who's probably the biggest sure thing in the market right now. But then also he's also someone that relies on service. He's very much like a box-dominating centre-forward. He's not exactly great link play and stuff. But I don't know. There's not anyone really obvious. You've got people, even to the fact now, people are suggesting that Liam Delap might be an option from Ipswich, who's a talented youngster.
But again, he's a rookie. So. He's a rookie with promise. And this is the problem, is that people are too quick to anoint these rookies as polished players. Look at the trajectory that even Wayne Rooney went on. He's 2 years from debut to signing for United. 2 years before we went, okay, let's see what he's about. Michael Carrick came through West Ham, moved to Spurs before we went, okay, let's see what he's about. Rio came through at West Ham, went to Leeds before we said, okay, he's done it at a couple of places, you can do that. You've got to go back to that. Like people like Louis Zaha went on a journey before they arrive at United.
You know why United can't do that? Because United have done what you've just said. United wait to make sure that people are sure things, or they're killing it.
Yeah, and you do.
And then you end up paying a premium. Do you know what I mean?
Maybe the transfer fees means that's less viable as an option nowadays as it used to be. Because obviously we spent, the money we spent on Rio was big dough. The money we spent on Wayne Rooney was big dough. But I feel like we signing some players very, very early in their career for established dough, but they're not established. Like when we spent 75 on Lukaku, you knew what you were getting with him, right? And maybe it didn't work. There's external factors on that, like he came heavy because the World Cup squad wanted him to be heavier or some shit like that, wasn't it? Like Belgium wanted him heavier for some reason. But you got an established pro, and like Lukaku, even though he flopped for United, is actually so many levels better for United than any of these fucking idiots that we've got are now.
That's the crazy, because Lukaku at the time he was here was obviously ridiculed. He had a lot of poor performances, but he did score goals. And Lukaku had
Did he score like 10 and 11 at one point?
Yeah, Lukaku was much better for us the time he was here than Højlund's been. But obviously Højlund's not experienced. He's still someone that you're waiting to kind of arrive. But sometimes I think United are in a situation where they want to exercise patience, but they also can't wait forever. So it's just about when you actually bite the bullet. But I think it's a concern that Laurie, who's very well sourced, has come out and basically said that United are targeting a striker. I know maybe they view Højlund as a backup or someone that can learn, but they're obviously seeing him every day, seeing his performances, probably seeing his data, and they're obviously not quite as sold as well. And I think people are like, oh, he's 21, and then people do it. Then when he's 22, people are going to say he's only 22, he's only 23. What was Gyökeres doing at 21? What was Salah doing at 21? All these stuff that are just basically huge hypotheticals, and nothing, and progression isn't ever linear anyway.
No.
For all we know,
it's not guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. So I don't really like those type of like comparisons that people make, but I actually don't know who we go for in the summer. And someone made a good point earlier saying that Arsenal and Chelsea are in need of a striker as well.
I don't know how Chelsea are still signing anybody, to be honest with you.
Someone said it then. I think Chelsea have made 300 million in sales of academy products alone. So Why on earth why else could they be able to spend as much as they spend?
Oh, I know it's exactly what it is. Yeah. You're right.
They're actually not. So Chelsea can spend like $1.5 billion and they're actually not in PSR trouble because of
the sales
of
academy players. But they sell academy players for proper money. Like literally, we've said it how many times. Look, United letting Dylan Levitt go for literally a fucking Twix was madness. You know, he was a full international that was playing week in, week out for Wales, and United let him go for non-league money. It was insane. It doesn't matter what they go on and achieve afterwards. You look at some of the stuff that these Chelsea players have been sold for. They achieved the same as Dylan Levitt's achieved, but they went for 25 mil, and we sold him for 200 grand. Fucking Zidane Iqbal, full international. Yes, it's Iraq. It's hardly like a top 10 first world nation. It's Iraq. But the guy plays international football.
That's like Scanlon in the under-18s. I think he plays for Gibraltar. So it's like, I think it just usually depends on where you play. But I don't know, United are never able to get good fees. I think the only transfer that we made a profit on that seemed like, wow, we pulled that off, was Daniel James. I can't believe Leeds, all we did was fist them up when they were in the league the past few years, and then they went and done us a favour with that, so I can't lie. But because we're talking about striker and not talking about the fact that United could also do with a midfielder, another winger, another centre-half, probably another right wing-back. We're talking about main positions of need when you can literally go through pretty much 9 out of the 11 positions and potentially say that we can improve it. And there's even talks of people thinking that we need a new goalkeeper as our number one.
Yeah, there is. Who's your definitely? I couldn't convince you to sell him.
I wouldn't sell Kobe Mainoo, Amad Diallo, Lenny Yoro, Mazraoui. I'm not gonna lie to you. That might be it.
I will go a little bit more than that, because I would also not sell Delic.
Oh, Delic. I wouldn't.
Prior to weekend,
I wouldn't sell Ugarte.
I would have said, Ugarte is absolutely on
because Ugarte's impressed, but I still am the belief of Ugarte's impressed me, but I still believe that when United are actually really good again, and if he's still around, he'd be a rotational, occasional starter, squad player.
I think I could see him as a starter, but I would have put Martinez in there, but I think now that's paused while we wait and see what Martinez comes back like, because he's had a lot of injuries.
Or Bruno as well, but obviously Bruno goes without saying.
I wouldn't have him on my definitely don't sell. And some people, if you say he's absolutely on my definitely don't sell, that's fine. I'm not going to argue with you. It's just, my preference would be, I think that I would go with a more specialist that can fulfill a better role.
Mark F says, so half the team are good enough, so the manager should be doing better. That's a very reductive way of looking at what we just discussed, isn't it?
No, it means that half the team aren't fucking good enough. How the fuck are we still alive?
Do you know what I mean? It's like saying definitely wouldn't sell, not necessarily thinking that they're like... And that's not half the team.
No, Mainoo's still developing. Yoro's still developing. I can see a trajectory within them. That doesn't mean they're the finished article. Do you know what I mean?
I do think we are a couple years away from Bruno potentially getting us potentially getting a 50 to 60 million pound offer from Saudi for Bruno.
When does that train end? When does that party end up being over?
Apparently they already started going after the younger players. I was going to say youngsters, but that sounded weird. Do you know what I mean? Because obviously they got John Duran, who is going to live in Bahrain and take a flight every day to training because
he's got an unmarried girlfriend.
Yes, but so does Cristiano Ronaldo, but the rules are different for him.
Yeah, they are, yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But that's actually crazy because people don't want to sell Garnacho either, which is fair. We have a problem letting go of academy products. I wasn't against the sale of Rashford at all, but then when I saw Rashford in the Villa kit, I felt uneasy. Did you not? Did it not look weird? It felt weird. Do you know what I mean? So
it's sad all around. It's sad on, and I see people go making excuses. I don't know where you're getting that, because I put a lot of the blame squarely at Marcus's feet. Like, your career is your responsibility at the end of the day. I'm not here for people to be, I've had loads of managers. Give a fuck. I mean, who gives a fuck? It's your responsibility. Your career is your responsibility. That's it. It's your responsibility. Nobody else is going to look after your career more than you are. You turn up every day and put in 110% and see what happens. Most of the time, you'll be successful. He had the level of talent to be successful. He's clearly not going into training on a daily basis and putting in 110% because there's no fucking, even with the money he's on, right? Yeah, you can say, I think the club probably wanted shut of him because he was a burden in terms of PSR, and you might have a point. But I tell you what, if he was scoring a goal a game for you, they'd swallow it. And they won't give a fuck how much he's on. They'd be like, scores a goal a game.
100%. It's like when he gets criticised for how he looks and like the off-the-pitch stuff. Nobody would have been asked if he was performing well. So
I don't care what he dresses like anyway.
So this is what I mean.
I don't stay awake at night thinking about what other men wear. I don't know about you. All I care about is did you turn up for training?
Not that there's anything wrong with that. If you're that way inclined, anyway. But
there's no way of inclination in anything. Like I don't stay awake at night thinking about what chicks wear. People wear what they wear. I don't give a fuck.
I do. Sorry.
I could not find a fuck to give. Here's what matters to me. What are you like? And how are you at your job?
It is true because that's the thing with...
Shit, man, look at some of the fucking sliders that Jadon wears.
I know, that's the frustration.
Still keep him in play.
That's the frustration with Rashford because he's done the worst thing. He's underwhelmed performance-wise on the pitch for years now, apart from one almost like anomaly season. And
Pickford is a United player.
No,
Ashton United. Hartlepool. Sheffield. Cough. Go on.
No, I was saying, and then he's compounded it with the off-the-pitch stuff. Do you know what I mean? I feel like you only get away with that if you're playing well, and he just hasn't. But anyway, it's the fact that I'm hoping that Rashford goes to Villa, smashes it, so we can get 40-50 mil for him in the summer, which will obviously help us with our rebuild and PSR, because damn well we're going to need it. Because if he doesn't... Do you know if Rashford actually shits the bed at Villa, we won't be able to sell him for a decent enough fee, and then Garnacho will have to get shopped again.
Yeah.
Or Mainoo, as they keep talking about it.
At the end of the day, it's a shit situation all around. It's shit for him. It's shit for us. Because, he's been put on this massive contract, which he earned, right? Because if he didn't earn it, they wouldn't have given it him. I know that the club's been run by absolute turbo fuckwits for the last 10 years.
Yeah, I know.
Ross Murphy says, I'll tell you who's a United player, Tyler Diblin. That I agree with.
Yeah, Tyler Diblin's quality. But you know what? People want these young ascending players, but then people are also sceptical about whether they're good enough to do that, have that immediate impact.
Yeah. And Diblin might not be, to be honest.
Do you know what? It's like, realistically, we do need these young players like Quenda and Tyler Diblin that have got superstar potential that are young, because this could be the cheapest you ever get them, and also you get more years out of them and their quality. But then United also need a few ready-made players that are going to walk in and just raise the ceiling of the team immediately as well.
I think United can't afford that. Those 27, those 28-year-old players, but they might have to come on free transfers, or they might have to come in shit situations. Erik Cantona joined this team in a shit situation. Howard Wilkinson didn't like him, didn't like the attitude on him, didn't like the flair on him. Howard Wilkinson was old school, 4-4-2. We're going to send it high, we're going to fight. And he had this magician in Cantona that wants to play off in between the lines. Cantona, when he came to United, said, I felt at home. And he had a manager in Sir Alex who went, I like you, and I like how you play. You go play how you see football played, and gave him the freedom. Not everybody got that freedom. Some players get told, shut the fuck up and do your running.
No, you got to earn it.
Yeah, but Cantona, Fergie saw something in him and was like, yeah, I'll have a bit of that. And then I shared something on my Instagram probably about 2 weeks ago. Because you forget, yeah? We get old, memories fade. Some of the stuff that Erik Cantona did might be the reason the Premier League is the global product that it is. Because you ain't seen people doing these... It was like every third ball that came to him would come away from him at a mad angle, either with a flick or a back heel or something. People weren't doing back heels. Like, I watched 3 years of Premier League football before Cantona joined United, or First Division football, and there weren't anybody doing this shit. He turns up and he's just like, He's got his chest out. He's got his fucking collar up. Everything's a back heel. He's hitting balls with backspin. Backspin weren't invented until fucking November 1992. He was the first fucking guy that was doing this shit.
Have you seen that YouTuber that went up to do? He did. He asked like questions in public, and he was in. I think he was in the Hale area, and he saw Erik Cantona, and then he went and asked him a question. He didn't know it was Erik Cantona, and he did like a really classic Cantona answer that was hilarious, and then the camera panned down, and he was walking his pet, and it was a pet goat. So Erik Cantona walking a pet goat.
I didn't know if that was authentic or if that had been like content.
It looked like he wasn't sure. But I'd be surprised if the guy that asked and the person filming behind didn't know that it was Erik Cantona. Even obviously people of that age might be walking around in that Cheshire area being left alone, but I always find that a hilarious clip of mine.
Yeah, Cantona did some shit that was just on another level. But Cantona came to us as a problem player. He came to us late in his career. He came to us at a time when he was considered a bit of a bad apple, and he was surplus to requirements. He just had a great season, won the league with Leeds, but he came to us like they sold us for £1 million at a time when there were players going for £3, £4, £5 million. He was an absolute bargain, and he was transformative for what the club went on and become for the rest of the 90s. But he was a problem player. But he came at the right age where he could influence those younger lads around him. We had great players. We had Mark Hughes, we had Paul Ince, we had Brian Robson, we had some real leaders in that team. And then you had a load of youngsters. Obviously, the class of 92 boys were on the cusp of breaking in. But he came and was the one that they all went, oh. And I believe the likes of Bergkamp were similarly transformative for Arsenal when he got there. He would stay with a bag of balls and do extras. And people was like, if he's staying to do extras, I'm staying to do extras because he's fucking quality. And that's how culture permeates amongst squads. Whereas you see what's going on with United, and people just, what are we doing? What are we fucking doing?
Exactly. But I think we're gonna have a little look at the super chats before we actually forget about those. Can't have them forgetting. So can you go to the left there? I'm gonna read out some of the
Mark
super chats.
says, fine line between back the manager and we should back the system. Amorim needs to get results to demand backing, in my opinion. I totally fucking disagree, mate. Don't hire someone and then make them prove what they're about to get back in. That's crazy. Just back the guy or don't appoint him in the first place. He's got the appointment on the back of what you've seen from him. Marcus says, spin, bullshit promises. Is that talking about what we're going to buy in the summer, maybe?
But do you know what? With this whole change the system thing, you recruit a manager with none of his personnel, without a summer window, mid-season after a horrendous start, and then not really sign him any players apart from one, and then expect like some sort of, and then not give him the opportunity to get to a summer. It would feel like a little bit of a waste, especially if you was to get rid of Amorim, how much money you'd have to fork out to him anyway. And then also I was thinking about, we didn't get Matty's Tal because of the loan fees. I wonder how much money we could have used towards that with the money that was used to sack Dan Ashworth.
There's a question there that's not super chat, but I'll ask it. So I've seen him ask it twice. Stella Vegas 111 says, Steve, what's your opinion on Ant Middleton? Might be best asking one of the Q&As. Can't think about United until Friday morning. Now, Ant Middleton, in terms of the things that he's gone and achieved as a soldier, he's completed the Holy Trinity. He's done commando training, P Company, and Special Forces selection. He's passed all of them. So he's better than I am, right? But when you speak to some people that are his peers at the top level, people in that realm will tell you there's Premier League footballers. Everyone's playing Premier League level football, but there's starters and there's bench players and there's captains and there's undroppable players. And a lot of the ones that you see in the media
on the sidelines
just had 5 games for Southampton, if you know what I'm saying. But as far as I'm concerned, he achieved far more in his career than I did, so I wouldn't be one of the people that cast any sort of aspersions on a guy's career, because I don't know. I haven't seen him on and up with my own eyes and gone, tell you what, he's this, that or the other. I haven't got any experience in that, so I would say you'd have to ask some people, but the people that you would have to ask won't ever talk about it. So
yeah, exactly.
It's one of them, innit? Abhinav says, you are going to have to eventually back the manager sometime. We've conceded fewer goals than City. We can't score and we need physical beasts. I agree with that a little bit.
Club will need to build a young, hard-working squad with depth, while stabilising the finances to actually make it work when we bring the star gold dust. That's exactly the route that we are trying to take. It's just about where we have the patience to do that.
Jibak says, where's the money going to come from? We have to pay 150 million in outstanding transfer fees for our earlier purchases. Will we have upfront cash for more? That's the weird way that PSR works, and the way you can sell stuff for profit is immediate, and then you can split the costs over the course of a contract. So like there's, ultimately, yeah, we're skint, but there's ways of appearing less skint and getting. There's ways for us to sign players while still being skint and satisfying the PSR regulations. But we are absolutely skint. There's no two ways around it.
Financially doing that, do you end up just always chasing your tail? Or is that just how business
works? We're destined to do that since what happened in 2005 with the fucking Glazers. So one of them, innit?
Yeah.
Falcon says, demand a coach that has a style and identity. Don't give him players that can play that style. Blame the coach. Yeah, I mean, I'm already seeing people turning on Amorim. Yeah. What the fuck did you expect? And then people go, "Wow, he needs to just fucking change his tactics." On this, right? I'll throw my own self in it, right? Because I only know one way to coach. Joe, if someone said to me, "I want you to play a different style of play," I was chatting to my dad about this on Saturday. So we beat a team that are undefeated this season, and we had a fucking really good game and we bopped them. The way that they play is clearly successful. They're undefeated in the league, and they're doing well. But I couldn't coach that style of play. I don't know how to coach how they played. And if you asked me how to, I'd be like, I fucking couldn't.
Would people then argue, like with the Amorim saying the best coaches are the ones that are adaptable?
And you'd be valid in that. And I'm not a professional coach, so maybe I'm allowed to have these massive deficiencies in my game where I haven't got a fucking second way of playing.
But are these coaches and managers adaptable? But it's more so at that level of football, managers only want to do things that they have 120% wholehearted belief in. And I think they have an element of doubt if they kind of sway to different things.
I think that you have to have a level of delusion about the way you see the game being played. Fergie adapted, right? But he had principles of how he wanted the game to be played. United always pressed high. United always attacked. United always tried to play in the opposition half. Very, very rarely, like one-off games, we're going to do this. But you never saw United go 4, 5, 6 months of a total adaptation in terms of style. One game's one game, right? And anyone can change. We're going to do this today. These are your specific instructions. But to coach an entirely different way of playing, I think that's really difficult. And I don't know if there's a manager out there that you could point to me and go, he was able to do this style of play and make his team look coached and drilled, playing this style, and then this style with a totally different set of players. I don't know if those coaches exist. Anyone can do it for a single game. But then where's the payoff if you do that for a single game? There's the distances are different. You change from a 2-3-1 to a 4 and a 2 or a 3-2-1. The distances are different. The coverage is different. The responsibilities are different. And knowing those intimately enough to spot in a training session and in a match when that guy's out of position. Oh, no, move up. And knowing that in your head, that at the speed of a Premier League football game, oh, fuck, he's in the wrong position. Or not just he's in the wrong position, but, oh, no, actually, the opposition are in the wrong position and we can take advantage of it this way. Like, it's so fucking difficult to do that on the fly.
I just think I saw the same team play a different system before Amorim and not be much better in the slightest. So that's how I see it. And I know some people have the argument that they've got there's a lot of managers these days that are like more focused on their style and the fanciness of how they're playing and their philosophy, almost more bothered about selling their idea than the actual performances that they're having at clubs. And people are arguing that because people having poor seasons, managerial seasons at smaller clubs or at clubs, but then because their idea looks nice and they're playing football a certain way, they're getting big jobs on the end of it. Obviously, there's one coach to mind, but Vincent Kompany's the one that got a Bayern job after not being great at Burnley, and then it's coming up with this idea now where this whole systematic error now where managers are walking in and they've got a way of playing, a style, and they're sticking with it no matter what, because they think if they look as good doing it and as fancy doing it as possible,
they can get that big job.
That they'll still be desirable once they leave.
McKenna will be an interesting one out with how this season's gone with Ipswich. I didn't feel like they were equipped to do anything this season with Ipswich, really. It's a League One team. It's not even a Championship team.
They've recruited decently, but it's not a Premier League squad.
Rudiger goes, Simeone did that. I feel I'll have to disagree, because I think his way of playing was very much a way of playing without the ball. There would be times when they were the stronger team and they would dominate the ball. I mean, some of the midfields that they had, they were always going to dominate the ball. But he was a defensive first manager, so which bit? Like, because I think he's been pretty consistent as a manager, in all honesty.
Wow, I agree.
Linville says, did Fergie play 4-4-2, 4-4-1-1 or 4-2-3-1 with Cantona? Yes. Which I know is not the question or the answer that you probably was expecting. It would always be written as 4-4-2. In reality, it was probably closer to 4-4-1-1, sorry. But I think if you're being true, the early days especially, it was a 4-2-3-1 because the wingers were high. Yes, they would always cover back into midfield, but it was Cantona. It would be quite often you would see Ince and Keane play together. Like you would see that only for a couple of seasons, I guess, but you would see those two play together as a bit of a double pivot. And Cantona would very much be in the 10. There'd be another striker, whether that was McClare or Hughes or Cole a little bit later, and then the wingers would push on. Beckham obviously always tucked in a little bit further back. Giggs always pushed on. They were asymmetric in how they were deployed. But personally, it was very close to a modern 4-2-3-1 in my opinion. But both the midfielders did box to box.
No, I've just in the Fergie I remember, I feel like he played a definitely variety of ways. I know people say the era is a little bit different, but at the end of the day, I feel like he was
formations changed, but did principles?
I think people overestimate change in football. I feel like there's only so much an actual sport can change, really. Because it's not like we're talking about 50, 60 years ago. We're actually talking about, 15 years ago? Do you know what I mean? It's not... It's almost within a generation. And obviously, that's like 20 years ago. 30. Yeah, but I'm moving about Fergie, because Fergie obviously managed across a few generations, isn't it? So it kind of even more of a testament to it.
Did you see that fucking helmet on Twitter? Which was a guy was like, tell me a player that you don't think would be able to adapt to the modern game. I'll start Ryan Giggs. And you're like, of all the fucking players in the world that you think couldn't adapt, you choose a guy that had a 20-year career that spanned multiple title-winning sides. And not only that, he adapted better than anyone to play two positions. You've never seen a winger that started his career in a Wilf Zaha style way of just boxing people up and then become a cultured central midfielder. It just didn't happen.
Exactly.
It didn't happen. Fucking idiots. What are we talking about here? Mark says, do you guys like/want 5 at the back? No. Realistically, this formation should be a 3-2-5.
But that's not a starting formation. That's just obviously...
But yeah,
it's like a build-up variation almost. So just like because 3-2-5 is pretty much what like Arsenal and City like in the final third, aren't they?
Notch says as if football didn't change between 91 and 2013. Yeah. I mean, you could argue the change between 91 and 2013 has been greater than the change that's happened since 2013. Yeah. Anyway, right, I'm going to wrap it up. Cheers to Ronnie. Cheers to you lot for tuning in as always. Preview out tomorrow. Friday Night Lights for the FA Cup.
Interested now, isn't it?
Return of Rude.
We've got something for
How many
Rude, don't
games
we?
has he won since then? Did he win more games with us than he's won with Leicester?
I think so.
Yikes.
Tough.
Yikes. It's not been great for him, has it? Anyways, cheers for tuning in. See you in a bizzle. Hey, thank you for watching the video. If you are new around these parts, then don't forget to subscribe. My channel is proudly supported by my community on Patreon. If you'd like to get a little bit of extra content, a Discord group, meetups, five-a-side games, weekly podcasts, behind the scenes, and even an occasional bit of transfer news as and when I get it, then for the price of a pint, you can show your appreciation for the content that we make and get some goodies for doing so as well. Check the link in the description or click the button right here. You'll also find all of my socials here too if you want to follow me on any of those platforms. Nice one.